Come on.
Everybody, what's up? It's FranchisOR Bust time. Trevor's here. Katie's here.
It's Katie.
There she is. And we are super excited. In fact, some might say that we are buzzing with anticipation to speak with Bridget of Buzz Brands Franchise Group. And Bridget, how are you? So good to see you.
I am doing well. What an intro. Love a pun. Great to be here.
Well, we're certainly excited to talk to you and get into, just the world of Buzz Brands and what you guys are up to and the many franchise brands that you guys have under your umbrella and what makes them so special and you all's philosophy, et cetera. So why don't we start simple and maybe just tell us a little bit about what you do with Buzz, and then also a little bit about the brands you guys have, and then we'll start to kind of roll from there.
Yeah, that sounds great. So awesome. So I'm Bridget Rawls, Director of Digital Marketing for Buzz Franchise Brands. So I've got a team of digital marketers that work with me, and our department really is here to support all of the brands that we have under our umbrella. By supporting our franchisees, franchise development efforts, brand awareness, kind of running the gamut. So I oversee that department. So it's never boring. It's always something different every day. But it's great. And a little bit about, Buzz Franchise Brands specifically. We are a multi-brand franchisor, and we've got 3 different service brands, as you've alluded to, Trevor. So we've got Pool Scouts, which is a residential pool cleaning concept. We've got Home Clean Heroes, which is a residential home cleaning concept. And then British Swim School, we teach kids how to swim, exactly how it sounds. So working with those, different brands is really fun. And it kind of gives me, again, like I said, it's never boring and I can kind of jump around with my creativity. So yeah, a little bit about us.
Fantastic. So believe it or not, for those of you listening, I know a little bit about digital marketing. So I'm always excited to talk to folks kind of in the marketing space and digital marketing, especially space in the franchise world, because that's kind of the world, it's the world I live in day to day. So I guess let's maybe break it down a little bit. Let's talk about the importance that you've seen for maybe overall marketing, but obviously also digital marketing for the brands that you have. I mean, what's your objective is make the franchisees successful, right? Like
exactly.
That's rule number 1. That way the brand itself is successful. So how does digital marketing and what you're overseeing really play into some of that success?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you're saying, I mean, we always say we're not successful unless they're successful. And that really is true. I mean, we're all in the same team. We're just kind of coming at, a particular business or brand and, a different angle. So yeah, I mean, really with service brands, having that digital presence is, I would say, even that much more important than, a typical brick and mortar concept, right? So if you're driving by and you see Chick-fil-A or you see McDonald's, and that just kind of naturally sinks into your brain, even subconsciously. With, service brands, I feel like we have to work just a little bit harder to kind of be visible. So, we really put our focus into our key areas, obviously making sure that our franchisees have a strong website to start with. So we've got all of our websites set up in kind of a microsite structure in a subfolder breakdown. And then that gives the franchisee really their own place to be able to send their audience, gain potential leads, but also kind of make it personal. And then of course we've got, focuses on paid digital, local listings, and search engine optimization. So really making sure that we're taking up space in all 3 of those sections on the search engine results page, right? So I use my screenshot of the Google search engine results page for a lot of my presentations because I think it's, again, really clear what we're trying to do. We're trying to take up real estate to push those competitors down, but we're also trying to build up credibility with the searcher if they're seeing our brand in all of these places. And that's really going to naturally signal to them, okay, this is what I'm looking for. But again, because we're a service brand, it's just it's that much more important, I feel like. So it's a consistent, effort, obviously in our department for our
Are
franchisees.
you sure you don't want to just come sell for me? Because that's exactly what I tell people all the time.
I
No,
know, right? You think it would sink in. It does.
no. Well, and what you're saying is so fundamentally true, especially when you're saying service-based brands, because
Yes.
service-based brands, by their nature, are elective. You don't
Hmm.
have to use Pool Scouts. You don't have to use British swimming schools. You can
Exactly.
use your competitor.
Hmm.
So, in order to sway the audience, sway the consumer, you want to make sure you are very easily findable and very easily present in that local market. And I love what you just said about making sure that the franchisee themselves in their local market has presence and has
Yes.
really their voice in that area. Talk a little bit more
Hmm.
about the approach there, and maybe why you all, maybe as
Yeah.
being in charge of that, feel that's so important.
Yeah, so we definitely put a big emphasis on kind of the general brand presence, right? We do a lot of efforts on the brand awareness level, kind of at the national level, as we so call, to support our franchisees what they're doing at the local level, and obviously that's super important. But what we like to say, and what I think is so true, is that people like to do business with people. So the last thing I feel like, even coming off of COVID, right? We're shopping local. We're really interested in making an impact in our communities. So making sure that our franchisees, we're empowering our franchisees to, really act as the face of their business, because that's what they are. They're a local business. Sure, they're, a part of a national brand, but we really want that to come across. So we put a lot of emphasis on that, even down to like the little things like, okay, let's think about the content on your website. We've got a lot of great branded images, right? But like, how about a picture of you and your team, or, something local that's really going to kind of resonate. And I think that really does go a long way, especially with these services. Two of them were coming into your home. The other one were, we want them to give us their kids to teach. I mean, it really is a level of trust that we need to build up. So I think, putting a person behind that is just so important.
A lot of those kind of fundamental business ideas that you're discussing right now occasionally can get lost on like emerging brands, and it,
Yeah.
it, it kind of lost in the shuffle. But it sounds like you guys are really zeroed in on, hey, we need to make sure our messaging and the way that we're helping to drive consumer behavior
Yep.
to our locations is strong for growth. And really what that fuels and what that brings is we're going to go from emerging to large, and from
Yes.
large to larger. So
Yes.
maybe talk through a little bit of that. I mean, with your different brands you guys are running, like what's some of the plans to say, hey, look, we're going to scale. Like we're not in this to be 100 locations or
Hmm.
200. We're in this to really grow.
The long haul. Yeah. So I think the big part of that is, like what you just said, Trevor, about, emerging brands. A lot of times, I think when I look at other models and, a concept is new, I mean, if you only have a handful of franchisees, you don't really have the budget to put a team of experts in place, right? To kind of help with some of these things. So the way that we're structured, we've got what we call a shared services team. So the digital department, my department kind of falls into that, direct mail, our creative and video production, all falls into this, shared services. So, while we are able to support all of our brands, our biggest ones, but then also our smaller ones where, maybe those core brand teams are still kind of building. So I think that's a really important piece. And, we're very data oriented here, very process oriented. So anytime I'm having a conversation with one of my colleagues, or, someone on, one of our specific brand teams, and they've got an idea or, something like that. I take a step back and I'm like, well, how are we going to scale this when we have X amount of locations? And it's not if, it's when, right? Like that's our goal. So, it's really being intentional about approaching different situations and processes and ideas with kind of that in mind always. And then also obviously with the franchisee in mind. So I don't know if that answered your question, but again, I think that's kind of some of the benefit of how we're structured is we're able to kind of bring these expertise across all of these different kind of verticals, and really make an impact even on our smallest brands.
Yeah, no, it does, because really what you're driving into is that you guys have set up a structure to where
Yeah.
you are in a position to help your franchisees in a way that maybe some other, especially if you're dealing with like maybe a smaller group or a smaller brand, they're not really set up to do. And I know you all
Yes.
are yeah, you're in that space
Hmm.
where you can really have the infrastructure to help. And, speaking just a small amount from my experience in the franchise world, when you deal with a brand that has 1,000 or 2,000 or more locations, they're typically set up the way you all are set up already, which is
Right.
really attractive to new franchisees. I mean,
Hmm.
talk a little bit about how that infrastructure that you've set up is attractive to a prospective, franchisee who may be coming into your group.
Yeah. And we spend a lot of time on that, during our meet the team day process and, kind of the various, steps they take before they join on is that, we kind of show our organization chart of our shared services marketing team. And we're like, we are set up as an in-house marketing agency. And that's exactly what the intention was, is to kind of build these core competencies and be able to be experts in digital or video production when we know our franchisees aren't. I mean, it's very rare for someone to come into this process and know at least a lot or even a little about some of these things. So having the kind of peace of mind to be able to know that they're supported in all of these levels, I think really sets us apart. They don't have to worry about how they're going to update their website or figure out how to rank on Google. That's really where we come in. We take a lot of that heavy lifting off of them. There's still obviously a healthy level of collaboration. We need to have that kind of partnership, and we do. But I do think it's a very attractive, piece to a potential franchisee, because they're really able to see, that deep level of support across all of those areas.
Well, franchisees, by their nature, their goal is to buy into something that works, and
Exactly.
buy into something that works, own locations, and prosper and make money. I mean, they're not
Hmm.
doing it for fun,
No.
in most cases.
Yeah.
So yeah, having all that structure in place is super important. Maybe talk a
Yes.
little bit, since you're in the majority of folks that we interview on this in this forum are folks that are directly kind of at a franchise or level for one brand.
Yeah.
Speak about maybe some of the challenges slash positives to working
Yes.
with multiple brands.
Yeah. So, positive, we'll start there. Why not? I think is that we're able to kind of share ideas across brands, right? So our team works and collaborates directly with our core brand marketing teams. So each of our brands have individual, marketing team members for them. And then our shared services team is again here to, support and really dig into some of those deeper pieces. So having conversations about different campaign ideas or, what's working well, we're able to then kind of see what that would look like across another brand and bring that idea to fruition because, we've been able to see how it really worked firsthand, right? So that's, I would definitely say, one of the positives. I think one of the challenges can be, and this is so natural, and I would think anyone who actually works in an agency would say this, and I, have some agency experience, is just having to kind of mind shift. So, if I'm talking to, a franchisee is about a specific campaign idea, I have to just kind of really reset what I'm, saying is to make sure it's, really focused on that brand or that, that aspect. And then the other thing is that, not all ideas, if it works for one brand, it's not going to work always for another one, depending on the type of industry or, even the specific area that we're kind of working towards. So I think being flexible and being data driven, which we are, is really important. If we've got an idea that comes to us and, seems like a great idea and everyone's on board, we're going to test it. But if it's not going to work, then we're not going to shy away from that. So I would say those are kind of the positives and the negatives, but
Yeah.
very
Talk a
positive.
little talk a little bit about, well, before we get into specifically whether or not Katie can join up for British swim school, since she can't swim. So we need to
We
figure
teach
out.
adults,
Yeah,
Katie.
okay.
Oh,
Okay, good.
Get you
good,
in
good.
there. And we do have
And,
a Nashville location.
Right.
and what's British about it? I'm just
That's
kidding.
true. I know that really comes from our original founder. Really was founded in British, but yeah,
Perfect.
Obviously now all American owned by us.
But anyways, before we get into that,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about. So you're obviously you guys are you're very data driven. You're focusing in on really what you're focusing in on is how do we make sure that at the local level the marketing tactics we're applying are ones that
Yep.
we can track, ones that we can
Mhm.
understand, and ones that we can demonstrate. So how does that work technology wise? Do you guys work on like integrations into your CRM systems, your point of sale systems?
We
Uh,
do.
yeah, talk a little bit about that, because that's something that, it sounds like you guys might be interested in doing, which is great. But a lot of franchise brands sometimes maybe are a little bit
We
behind
kind of
on
lose that.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously some aspects are easier to do than others, right? We're not always going to be able to track the online to offline or vice versa, but we do the best we can. So, for instance, all of our websites, we're always going to ask, how did you hear about us? And really prompting that self selection in terms of source. Now, we know that we're only going to take that with a grain of salt because our entire philosophy is a multi touch approach. We do all of these things and, have all of these, pieces as a part of our marketing model. We've got digital, we've got direct mail, we've got local marketing, we've got PR. All of those things really have to keep happening consistently to, again, keep bringing those results. So we know that, it's usually the last touch point that we get from a customer, but that's one way. And that all flows into, our CRM systems, which is great. And then really just kind of taking any opportunity to, track as much as we can at the local level, whether that's setting up a specific URL for our direct mail cards or, different aspects like that, just making sure that we are having that data, first approach so that we can go back and reference that if needed. And we do, because obviously we want to make sure that, our franchisees are really understanding their true ROI. And when they come to training, we really talk a lot about the importance of, getting this information from their customers, really understanding, where they're coming from and making sure it's recorded again in our CRM system so that we can have that, as close as possible data.
Sometimes new franchisees don't understand. They don't understand on the front end. Sometimes, obviously, they do once they get into it. But
Yeah.
occasionally, they may not understand that it's actually a requirement that percentage of their revenue goes towards marketing. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
how do you kind of on the front end, sort of broach that subject with new franchisees and help them feel comfortable with the idea of like, hey, this is your minimum, but this isn't
Yes.
necessarily what we recommend.
Yes. Yeah. We have those conversations a lot, I think, when, like you're saying, when franchisees are reading through their FDD and see the various requirements, they see the minimum and they're like, okay, this is what I'll spend. But, it's a minimum for a reason. We really want you to build upon that, grow upon that. And sure, we're going to use our, data driven results to make those suggestions to, increase that spend when needed. But I think it can be very kind of boxed in when, franchisees come in and just think that they're only going to spend X when it's really going to be beneficial to spend X and X. You know what I mean? So I really think it's just about having the conversation and explaining and reiterating that as much as we can. We talk a lot about, like I just said, our multi-touch approach and reiterating that, from all aspects, all of our team is on the same page and understands that that's so important. So even if they're having a conversation with our direct mail team or, the core brand marketing team and, they're like, oh, I don't think digital's working. I'm going to stop spending. It's really about, okay, let's remember why we're doing this, why it's important before we can dig into the data and we can really, see if there's any tweaks that need to be made. But again, I think having kind of those power in numbers and, repetition is never a bad thing. And I feel like in this kind of business, is really helpful.
There's kind of a there's kind of like this idea sometimes uh at the especially at the franchisee level that we don't want to listen to corporate. We want to
Uh-huh.
listen to other franchisees and
Yep.
what they do and what they know. So how do you navigate those waters, especially when it comes to marketing? And maybe how do you kind of maybe take some examples from successful franchisees and really
Yes.
disseminate that information down.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think for certain things, it's required, right? So, but again, obviously dealing with like the level of increasing that to their success. And that's really where we, in certain instances, we will kind of draw upon some of our franchisees. And they have such a great relationship with each other. We've got an intranet that they use to communicate with each other. When we're able to kind of get back to our in-person events, which we should be there soon, having that time to really kind of just trade stories, what's worked for you, what hasn't, kind of already kind of builds up that rapport and brings that through, for the remainder of the year until they see them again. So for certain instances, yeah, we'll definitely pull upon those relationships if needed. Other instances, putting together case studies or, just kind of using that information from other franchisees and kind of similar types of markets is also really helpful, I really find. Hey, we're looking at, another set of franchisees data who's in a similar, launch period as you and is in a similar market, and we're really trending in the right direction. I think just kind of hearing that, a lot of them, when we, first get started, are like, well, how am I doing, compared to the other franchisees, or how is this tracking? Like, they want that kind of validation, right? They want to make sure that, they're moving in the right direction, especially in our world. We know they are because we make sure of it. But I think validating as much as we can with some of those, data points or, pulling in, testimonial every now and then from a franchisee or even setting up a quick conversation does really go a long way.
It's crazy how valuable being face to face in particular is for the
Mm-hmm.
franchisor when it comes to marketing.
Yes, it's so
Because
true.
really being able to get in there and say like, hey, this is so and so, he followed our plan, come here, let's all talk together,
Exactly.
or let me talk to you 10 people and show you this and this or whatever it may be. It really goes a long way.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. It really does.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about the brands, kind of the brands themselves. I mean, where are
Yeah.
you guys at with the brands under Buzz Brands, and what maybe are some of the goals for the next 3 to 5 years with each one? I mean, are you looking, obviously, everybody wants to grow. That's the whole point. That's the plan. Are you all set up on a model that is the like area rep or regional developer model, or are you set up on more of a model where you're looking for like multi-unit franchise owners to just kind of get where are the brands at?
Yeah, multi-unit franchisees are really kind of our sweet spot. So we've really seen some excellent growth. Obviously, like everyone else, COVID was an impact on some of that, but we've really come out, I feel like, even stronger. With the numbers that we're seeing and the interest that we're continuing to get with the franchise systems. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely more interested in those multi-unit franchisees versus the previous model you mentioned. That's not really kind of part of what we do. But yeah, I mean, I think in terms of growth, I think we're kind of focused in on it. Making sure that we're putting those conscious decisions and efforts towards growing our systems as much as we can, but still making sure we're supporting our existing franchisees. And I think that some franchisors can get a little bit too caught up in we want to sell X amount and that's the total goal. And that's obviously, we've got, those goals for each year in terms of, growth and number of territories and all of that. But it's really important to continue to maintain and foster those really strong, supportive relationships with our existing franchisees, because a lot of, as part of the sales process is validating, right? So potential franchisees talking to our existing franchisees, we want to make sure that they're successful, because again, we want that their success is our success, and that they can really feel good about talking to a potential franchisee about our concept. So I think really that's kind of where I would say Buzz Franchise Brand stands apart, because that's always been our focus is the franchisee. It's that's our priority. Really making sure they feel supported in every aspect, even when it comes to growth. And I think that, some companies can sometimes lose sight of that.
No, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
John Lee, an SEO who was kind of the main or the first big kind of private equity founder into Massage Envy when they only had like 50 or so locations, brought them up to
Mm-hmm.
500, 600 before selling. His big mantra was for the franchisees, it's not how much you make, it's how much you take. And a
Yeah.
lot of that had to do with the franchisor philosophy of we're paying attention to you. We're paying attention to how you're going to succeed. We're paying attention to you being successful.
Yes.
And that meant so much to the growth of that model. And obviously you all are adopting that with the brands you have, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are. We've really, built our support teams to be able to, kind of going back to that scalability, making sure we're growing with our systems and not kind of operating at a, too lean of a team because, then the support, the franchisees feel the impact. So we want to make sure that that's, always on the upfront.
Well, and I would say, that's kind of I would say it's a little bit rare in the space of franchisors to
Yeah.
invest so much into the infrastructure that's supporting the team, especially on the marketing side. I mean,
Yes.
that's really awesome and a rare thing.
It is. Yeah, I know. It's a special place. I'm a little biased, but
I tell you what, I almost feel like the bumblebees are buzzing all around me because I'm picking up the vibes from Buzz Brands.
Exactly.
Bridget.
All the alliteration, Trevor.
I know that's my, that's I gotta do something here. Just me talking is not very interesting, so I'm trying to get it somewhere. But talking to you, however, has been extremely interesting, Bridget. Appreciate you so much. Any final words you want to leave us about Buzz Brands?
No, I mean, keep your eyes peeled. We are continuing to grow and make waves in the franchising and service space. So excited to be a part of the ride and continue to see us flourish. So
I love that. Well, I hope the waves are not too high, otherwise Katie will drown, and we'll
Yep.
get her in those. We will get her in those swim lessons soon.
We gotta get her in
at British swim schools. Bridget, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're signing off. See you all in the next FranchisOR. What is it, Katie?
Bust.
Later.
Come on.